as the Z-Max pace car pulls into the safety of the pit lane. Chad McCumbee, Trevor Ward leading us to the green flag. We invite you to sit back and enjoy this one from Hudson. Already a couple of instances of 3 wide throughout the field, but Chad McCumbee comes around to complete lap number 1 as Trevor Ward able to escape with second. It is Matt Light and Landon Lewis side by side right now for position number 3.
And we almost saw Lewis peek to the inside 3 wide on Trevor Ward. There was a bit of a bobble in the middle of 3 and 4. That 12 car just launched up the banking, and Lewis had a bit of a rotation to move down to the inside, but now losing out of the battle of Matt Light right behind them. As we see Doug Barnes Jr., Mini Tyrell, they're going to go at it for position inside the rest of this top 10, but everyone's still rather congested, yet everyone finding their lines, and a near spinner. Mini Tyrell will save the car in the middle of 1 and 2, just bumped all over the racetrack in the first 2 corners, and he keeps it straight.
It is an absolute hornet's nest as Thomas Bean trying to hang on to the top side, 3 wide as we continue to work in 1 and 2. Several movers throughout the field. Some have been able to move forward and gain a couple of positions, and perhaps one of the cases of somebody who has unfortunately worked his way backwards. We were talking about Connor Hall, who started in 15th. He has fallen all the way back to 23rd in the opening laps. And Doug Barnes Jr., he may have a flat tire into the outside wall. Barnes is slow. We stay green though, as Doug Barnes Jr. from inside the top 10 has a problem. Flat left rear and is going to try to make it down, but is going to miss the pit road entry. Caution is out.
Yeah, they could not keep that green. Doug Barnes Jr. sparks flying from the back end of his pink number 88 machine. And there's that left rear pretty much torn to bits of the Hoosier tire that's really ripped up there. The leaders were just coming by, so almost it looked a bit scary. Race officials said, yes, let's throw the yellow. That's the reasonable call. And thankfully for Barnes, it had happened right on the outside of the racetrack, so he was able to stay out of everyone's way. Field did a good job of getting away from Barnes Jr., but the Air Doug Toyota will sit down pit road and will bring out the first yellow of the night.
Down to the rim as Doug Barnes Jr. pulls into the pit lane. A top 10 starting spot gone in the blink of an eye, just a few laps in, James Pike.
2 tires looking. 1 tire definitely getting changed. They're trying to make sure that he didn't get any more damage than just the very obviously down left rear. So they're going to take that left rear off, swap it out. A lot of spots they dragged underneath, so there may be some damage under this car that we can't see, but at this point, it's just the left rear tire that this crew is focused on. That got that swapped out, and they'll have Doug ready to go here in just a few moments.
So some contact we're hearing may have been the culprit here with Doug Barnes Jr. As well. It looks it was already going down at that point as he was battling inside the top 10, and so unfortunate for Doug Barnes Jr. Again, hasn't had the runs in the Cars Tour that he would have wanted with this Lead Podium Performance team. Was catching up with them earlier today, and he and his team so proud of the progress that he was able to make to be able to find speed yesterday throughout practice. And they took the car again. That's the same car that they ran at South Boston Speedway that was destroyed in a vicious crash with Parker Eatman. They moved forward with that car. They repaired it. They took it to Martinsville Speedway, where he was able to drive up into the top 10 late in the going in that race. And then starting top 5 here today, things were looking up for Doug Barnes, but again, if you're going to have an issue, have it early in the race. Plenty of time to try and recover. And we know how Tri-County can be sometimes.
Yeah, with everything we've seen already tonight and in prior Tri-County races, I would say the night is far from over for Doug Barnes Jr. The only problem is that he will indeed go a lap down as the field is coming around behind the Z-Max official pace car. So it appears like what James Pike mentioned, there may just be a little bit more damage than what we initially saw from the left rear tire going down on Barnes's car, but thankfully, it looks like the rest of the machine is okay. He should be able to get back on the track, and there he is coming out of pit road in turn 1 as the field will double up. So a bit of a chaotic restart there, and as everything came down to a fold at the exit of turn 2 on the initial start. Several cars had bobbled. A lot of that rubber laid down from that pro late model race earlier on tonight. And so some drivers have slowed down. It's resulted in some having too much rotation. The cars are very free. And we'll get ready for the restart here with Chad McCumbee and Trevor Ward still on the front row.
Now again, there was a bulletin sent out to Cars Tour teams earlier this week that stated that any tire changes during the race will result in a 3-lap penalty unless the car enters the pits with a tire that is flat on the rim. And can't imagine that that wouldn't meet that description in that situation with Doug Martins Jr. But that was added to the rule book earlier this week for all Cars Tour competitors, and was re-emphasized in the drivers' meeting earlier this morning. So 6 laps down here at Tri-County Speedway. It is still Chad McCumbee, Trevor Ward. Haven't seen much of a change up front, but how about Landon Huffman driving up into the top 6 here early as we work back into the iRacing restart zone. A little contact between your top 2 as we get back underway.
Just a solid start again. Everyone's still using that fresh patch of asphalt on the inside of 1 and 2. It looks like the top group is starting to come back in early on the fresh tires, Blake, and it seems to be working here for Chad McCumbee and even the likes of Matt Light, who's still been able to fend off the points leader in Landon Lewis. And Minnie Tyrell learned the lesson the hard way. He was basically right rear sideways in the middle of 1 and 2 not that long ago before the yellow. He's moved up a groove or 2, and now the car seems a little more planted to the middle of the corner. Trevor Ward is still bringing the fight into turn 1 for the lead. McCumbee will clear once again.
Matt Light going up to the top side, and no trouble on the front stretch. Doug Barnes Jr. and Austin Samaro make contact. And in a separate incident, the 71 of Jake Bowman is also parked in the middle of turn 1. So a couple of different incidents here. Caution flag is back out early here in the late model stocks.
Almost looked like there was a flat tire on one of those machines.
15's around as well. This is off of turn 2. It was outside of our vantage point up here in the booth. That's Mitch Walker. So a couple, I mean, this is almost verbatim what we saw in the Pro Late Model race earlier. A second incident where there's pretty much 3 layers to the sandwich here.
It's an onion. You got to peel it all back. Yeah. Mitch Walker getting involved in the spin, and it was a deep start for Walker. The Hickory, North Carolina native started 19th in this race, so not entirely, not entirely a charge to the front that was squandered. It was mostly just staying in the back at that point, trying to avoid the trouble, and ultimately ends up with it. The good news is that there is no damage on the Walker for District Attorney number 15, so he should be able, well, there is damage on the right front, but not entirely too much damage to take him out of contention or force him to come down pit road. But yeah, it seems like the restart's very chaotic here at Tri-County, whether it just be from the level of congestion in the field entering turn 1, the aggressive nature of trying to get to the brakes first, or rather later, and trying to be that driver that dives underneath. We've just seen those similar issues come out between the Pro Late Model race and this late model stock event, but what it will do is allow Trevor Ward to try and get another good restart on Chad McCumbee. Made a promising jump, just couldn't complete the pass.
Well, again, as we continue to pace around under caution here, the last couple of years, I hate to even bring it up, but it has been a thing, something that has happened in the past in terms of having a number of yellow flags that unfortunately puts these cars close to their fuel capacity. We have had a couple of instances. Now, again, it would take a lot of yellows adding up for this to be the cause here tonight. But with this being a track where even under green, as we sit at 4/10 of a mile here at this racetrack, it's still one of those tracks that the on-throttle time is very high. So wondering, again, if that will be a theme for some of these drivers as we continue to move forward. It's a couple of drivers will pull in. Hudson Bolger has pulled his car into the pit lane for service. I believe that Doug Barnes Jr. has done the same as well. We will try to double it up once again.
And just frustrating for Bolger there. We're going to try and figure out exactly what's wrong with that number 12B car. The driver for KP Speed Motorsports in that Byron Outdoor Superstore machine, who had a best finish of 7th at North Wilkesboro. He's had some good runs over the course of his Cars Tour career, specifically last year, in which he ran multiple races pretty well. Only had a best race of 16th this season at Cordelia and Ace Speedway, but the troubles persist. There has to be something wrong. They're looking at the right rear of his car, so either a fender that was cutting into the right rear tire or something that perhaps was extracurricular of all this. But once again, just bringing this field under the yellow. I'd imagine the anxiety grows a little more when you have these early cautions, because you see yourself maybe middle top 5, top 10, you're saying, this is the place where I can try to use my car, learn as much as I can, but if I'm not running under green, what am I really learning here? It's just minimal learning that you got in each and every little run, and then when you go back to green, you got to just get right back into that mentality, and that can be such a jarring shift for drivers, and some can get caught off guard when the green flag comes out.
Speaking of a jarring shift in this championship battle, again, was looking at Connor Hall at the beginning of this race. Again, he started in 15th, but very early in those opening few laps, he had drifted back all the way to 22nd. His car on this latest restart didn't seem to have any hiccups or anything, but he has fallen behind teammate Dale Earnhardt Jr., who started back in 24th and has worked his way up to the 21st position. So the most recent winner of the Virginia Late Model Triple Crown, experiencing some problems and trying to get back in this championship fight. As we can see the results of the choose, and Brandon Willard signaling that we're 1 lap away from getting back going.
This is going to be a good opportunity as well for Landon Lewis. I mean, not only with the troubles from Connor Hall, but a great qualifying effort, and much in this situation like Ben Mayer, it's just at this point not entirely about worrying about other drivers really making a huge charge at the end. It's really just having good enough finishes. You don't need to stand out and win the races, sweep or anything. All you got to do is finish well enough to be in a place to win the points championship for the Z-Max Cars Tour presented by Sound Gear in 2025, as the Z-Max pace car makes its trip back down pit road. Green flag unfurls through the iRacing restart zone. Chad McCumbee back in the front, leads ahead by Trevor Ward. Quite slip up in turns 1 and 2. They're nearly 3 wide on the back straightaway.
3 wide between Landon Huffman, Landon Lewis, and Minnie Tyrell. Remember, these two have had a couple of run-ins over the course of the 2025 season. Huffman on the bottom, Lewis and Tyrell trying to fight to stay up inside the top 5. Matt Light able to escape running the high line. He's up into 3rd. Tyrell going to try to do the same, as Huffman has been able to make up several spots early in this race on the bottom side of the racetrack, but isn't able to get by Landon Lewis just yet.
And a great job by Minnie Tyrell to hold his own on one of the higher grooves here at Tri-County Speedway. Connor Jones, the damage that he picked up in practice was because in turn 3, he ran so high up the racetrack, caught the marbles, and then the car slipped out from underneath him and he hit the wall. So Tyrell keeping the machine planted. Landon Lewis is starting to get swallowed in from the field. Landon Huffman down the bottom. Parker Eatman looking right behind in this 2-car battle just inside of the top 10. Lewis is falling back from the top.
And again, this is a great end, or second half of the 2025 season is looking much different for the number 71 of Parker Eatman right now battling inside the top 10, the Thanksgiving Classic winner at Southern National Motorsports Park from a year ago. I think wanting to try and split the middle 3 wide here, but you can see the cut down that Landon Lewis has off the corner to go all the way from the bottom to the middle of the racetrack. Huffman able to slide up and take the spot away, and now they're going to go 3 wide. Thomas Bean in the middle of the 0-1.
Does he try and survive in the middle of the group? Landon Lewis will push forward from the high shelf, and the caution flag comes out, and once again it's Mitch Walker. Same spin, same place, turn 2. And it looks like, Blake, another situation for Mitch Walker. He'll be all the way at the back of the field once the entire group comes around and we get the next restart. But the exact same area, probably to the millimeter almost, that Walker had gone around, the nose pointing the inside wall off of the second corner. It happens once again. We'll see if there was any assistance from the back, but it looked like Walker had potentially lost it all by his lonesome. And just like the last incident, not much damage to the right side of his machine.
A number of local drivers competing tonight at Tri-County Speedway. Mitch Walker was in the midst of that championship battle here at this racetrack a year ago when it was Darren Krantz Jr. That ended up winning the track championship here at Tri-County with Chad Bryant Racing. Right now, Landon Huffman, Graham Haller in their own championship battle here in 2025 at this racetrack. Right now with Huffman leading that effort, who, again, Huffman up from 12th. We've heard how difficult it is to try and make passes, but yet in 13 laps, Landon Huffman, who started alongside Brandon Pierce in row 6, was on the outside and is already up to row 3. So Huffman very early on in this race making some hay.
It's been very impressive, and he's got 7 top 10s this season, which has shown the level of consistency that Huffman has been able to put up. That also includes 4 finishes in a row of 7th or better, and that's kind of hard to achieve here in the ZMAX Cars Tour with the level of entries that we get each and every week. You know, the level of competition, it can be tough to be able to continue running in the top 10 week after week after week, but Landon Huffman has been able to do it, and it appears he has a really strong number 57 for Carroll Speed Shop, as he's been able to work several lanes across the speedway and able to gain a lot. Maybe we can see what he can do to Mini Tyrell once we get back to the green flag.
Again, you're looking at the Sundrop Chevrolet. That's Dale Earnhardt Jr., the NASCAR Hall of Famer, multi-time Daytona 500 champion, making what's been one of a handful of starts here. This will be his final one here in 2025. You can see the pink gloves that he's wearing, provided by K1 Race Gear that we were talking about earlier, that will be auctioned off. Again, bidding stays open through the end of Wilkesboro weekend, so in about 2 weeks, as he made up 2 spots on this latest restart to go up into 19th. For more in the pits, let's head down to James Pike.
Prevailing sentiment, I think, amongst a lot of the drivers, especially at the front of the field, is that these cars are really, really loose right now. Chad McCumbee says he's loose until he gets to the banking, and then the car catches the banking, and it sort of stabilizes a bit. Landon Lewis was also complaining about his car being loose, as is Mini Tyrell. And there are a few people that are thinking that nobody's really cutting anybody any slack early on in this race, and it might take a little bit for it to just settle down. And that was a big thought and a big point that McCumbee's crew made, didn't they? Said, let's just make sure we stay out of the mess behind us until the race settles down, then we can really start to go racing.
Well, I was listening to Tyrell's radio earlier today, and he kind of noted that, yes, they had a loose condition, but he thought, well, it's going to cool down a lot tonight. The track's going to gain grip. I think this is where we want to settle in at. But also, especially in final practice today, there were a lot of drivers who were kind of caught off guard over what they had in practice yesterday, where everybody was a little snug in the center, a little bit tight off the corner, now starting to kind of work the other direction. But again, when so much of the field is dialed in, and you have so many cars that are so similar, honestly, it probably just comes down to the track and how the track feels versus what they're able to dial in terms of the handling of their cars. Because over the course of the last couple days, several of which have been down here to test over the course of the last week, it's amazing how close these drivers and teams arrive to the racetrack ready to go. Yeah,
a lot of them have been dialed in. We've heard from a couple drivers as well that if they participated in the test session, they said, hey, we have a feeling of what our setup's going to look like. We just need to know what the weather's like, and then we'll respond and adjust accordingly. So a lot of times it could be minute differences, but with how the track has cooled down and with the way that especially that patch in turn 1 and 2 has enabled guys to wiggle free from all that grip, it has created a brand new facet that these drivers have to master. Back to the iRacing restart zone, McCumbee and Ward to the green flag.
McCumbee able to defend to the top. Landon Huffman thought about 3 wide again on the 81 and 23 cars directly in front of him. And as they exit off of turn 4, Huffman is going to try to make it stick down there, just not doing this time around. So we're nearly 15 laps complete in this one, but you can see Huffman right along the inside retaining wall, and that car is sticking down there in that number 57.
And like we talked about, like James mentioned to us, Mini Tyrell fighting that loose condition. It seems like when he's at the bottom end of the speedway, that's when the car is at its loosest, even on the other end of the speedway in 3 and 4, apart from that patch in 1 and 2. So as long as he runs higher, the car seems to be much more responsive to his attempts at making passes. Trevor Ward, dart down to the bottom again for the race lead. The top 2 have pulled away. That's a good sign for those front-running drivers. They want to see this mess further away from them as Landon Lewis and Parker Eatman do battle inside the top 7.
And more so, I think, I'm thinking that we're starting to see drivers venture down to the bottom, not so much because they're trapped there on the inside after a restart, but rather they're finding speed that they can try to take off of the corner, including what Trevor Ward is trying to do right now for Nelson Motorsports. Into turn number 3, side by side, leaning on Chad McCumbee, trying to take the late race lead away.
And you saw those pink gloves from McCumbee's car. He had wiggled it sideways, trying to keep the high side available in turns 3 and 4. The fight is there for Trevor Ward as Landon Lewis is stuck in the middle, 3 wide. Parker Eamon down the bottom. Thomas Bean on the high side, still 3 abreast at the exit of 4 as McCumbee continues to meet this charge at the front, and there's Lewis trapped in the middle of this group.
We've said this a couple of times, Landon Lewis being trapped in the middle, 3 wide, as Parker Eatman, one of those other cars that seems to be running very well at the bottom side of the racetrack. Ryan Millington also up into the top 10. Again, a bit of a new look for him. If you've been watching the Cars Tour all year long, with a black and gray number 40, but hard to look away from this battle for the race lead that is continuing up front here at Tri-County Speedway. Trevor Ward trying to use up every bit of racetrack there on the front stretch to try and build up a run on the Aaron Sales and Lease number 16.
And Ward is finding the similar problem like that we saw earlier in the Pro Late Model Division race in the fight for the lead. As soon as you dial up the apron on the bottom end of turn 2, you have little room to kind of wiggle up and plant the throttle, or else you're going to run over the car on the outside. So all of that lost time, all of the lost time that you could be on the accelerator pedal is what's holding Trevor Ward back at the exit of the corner. He fights the car off turn 4, once again shut at the door by Chad McCumbee, while behind them Landon Huffman seeks to look for 4th on Mini Tyrell on the high side of the racetrack. Great battles inside this top group as things have sort of split away.
Well, and speaking of splitting away, I was surprised at how quickly Tyrell and Huffman have split away from the rest of the field behind them. I mean, you're talking about 7 or 8 car lengths or so in the midst of just a couple of laps. Hard to look away from the battle of the race lead. There's great racing all over this racetrack. Huffman tries to take 4th. Trevor Ward still trying to take the race lead away from Chad McCumbee.
But remember how this race changed a little bit earlier on in the night. The inside was not the preferred group for most of the race. You want it to be exactly where Chad McCumbee is, at least 2 to 3 grooves higher. That's where you get the most rotation. You plant the throttle on the fresh tires. Give it enough of a long green flag run, everyone surges back to the inside of the apron, which is where Trevor Ward is trying to fight and cut his teeth. He remains down low, nose on the quarter panel of the Aaron's Ford Mustang. They'll remain nearly side by side to turn 1.
It's one of those places you got to come see it to believe it, because there is just great racing all over this racetrack, multi-groove, and we can at least show you 2 of them. This is the battle for first, left-hand side of your screen, Chad McCumbee, Trevor Ward. Right-hand side of your screen, Huffman was in a battle for 5th. I say was because he's not only taken 4th, he's taken 3rd away from Matt Light.
And those are 2 drivers, Blake, that know a thing or 2 about running well here at Tri-County Speedway. There's some of the several drivers that have been a part of Tri-County for a little while now, fighting for the points championship, as all the way in P6 is where Matt Light is in the standings for 2025 as the season comes to a close. And they've done a phenomenal job, and not only fighting against each other, Blake, but really letting the pressure from behind go away. The most congestion is right around the exit of the top 15. That's where Millington is. Thomas Bean continues to fight in the middle of that group, and it just continues to get more contentious. There's near contact again for the race lead. Trevor Ward's not giving this up.
Fastest cars on the racetrack, Landon Huffman, and then somehow, even though he's in the midst of traffic, the 14 of Jared Fryer right now. 2 fastest cars change for the race lead. Trevor Ward takes over the top spot from Chad McCumbee here at Tri-County. Trevor Ward looking for that first career ZMAX Cars Tour victory. Could tonight be the night that, out of the many things that he's been able to check off on his late model stock car racing resume, that he could add here late in the going in 2025.
And give him credit for all the patience he carried in that fight with the 16 of McCumbee, because over the course of a long green flag run, it can get a bit frustrating behind the wheel. You're saying, hey, I've got the faster line, I feel like I have the faster car, but I just can't complete this pass, and every time I try, I continue to get denied at the bell. Finally, when Trevor Ward is able to make that move, it's just a demonstration of how he's willing to stick with his gut. He knows what's working for his car right now, and it's been able to prove beneficial as he takes away the race lead for the first lead change of the night, as Landon Lewis and Parker Eman continue to have this fight progress back to turn 1.
Jared Fryer is flying right now, absolutely flying. He was a couple car lengths back a few laps ago of this battle. He gets by both of them in a jiffy. Jared Fryer, and no surprise for anybody that has seen what he's been able to accomplish throughout this 2025 season, they have just brought speed everywhere. He's so appreciative of it because he knows in racing it very easily could be on the flip side as well. As you can see, Landon Huffman's teammate, the number 2 of Brandon Pierce, starting to work his way up into the top 10. Carroll Speed Shop, very, very fast. But also, again, as we work off of 2, oh man, that was tight between Ryan Millington, Carson Lofton. Again, Millington black and gray number 40. That is the Taylor Satterfield Racing number 40. He's been a crew chief for this car a couple of times throughout this year, but allowing him to get behind the wheel and kind of assess where this program is, especially somebody who has run many a times here at Tri-County Speedway. Smart for this Taylor Satterfield Racing team. As Thomas Mead, again, I saw a lot of 01 Steel T-shirts in the grandstands walking up here to the booth.
Oh, contact at the exit of turn 2. That's Chase Burrow getting tagged around on the back straightaway. Caution flag will come around. That was in the battle for 15th place. Ronnie Bassett Jr. getting a piece of Chase Burrow at the exit of turn 2, and both of the white machines end up around. And I think there may be a message that Ronnie Bassett wants to send. He'll talk it over with Chase Burrow. He is upset, visibly, hands up. Maybe just asking what he was doing there at the exit of turn 2. And we'll get a second look at it, but they had easily tussled. I think Bassett was up top, trying to keep his nose planted on the outside of Burrow, and then that's when they had both touched, and around went both of those cars into the wall.
So easy to do here at Tri-County when everybody's fighting for every piece of real estate, and those passes can take multiple laps to try and set up and accomplish. You can see Bassett still upset. Here they come off of turn 2, look for the 2 white cars, the 00 and the 04, and from what I see there, did Burrow get hit from the 25?
I'm not sure if there was any further assistance there for Chase Burrow, but Ronnie Bassett Jr. obviously upset with the fact that maybe he thought that Burrow had hit him, you know, in an intentional way. Not entirely intentional, but in just a sense of running him over at the exit of turn 2. But obviously it appeared that Burrow had been bobbled from the start in the second corner. Whether it was from help or not, the car looked unstable off the corner, so it looked like it was a hard chance for him to save it. Just sent up the racetrack into Bassett, and then obviously Bassett, in the attempt to save the car, he's trying to keep it off the outside wall. There's nowhere to go but back into Chase Burrow, and they both travel to the entrance of turn 3, and there go the crews trying to assess to both cars, try to get them on the hook. And for Chase Burrow, his night will come to an end, most likely early. Chance for the car to get back out on the racetrack as many other cars hit the pit lane. That includes Thomas Bean, Laney Bice, and a couple of others.
A very busy pit area, and we'll chronicle all the stories when we get back here from Tri-County Speedway. You're watching the Z-Max Cars Tour presented by Sound Gear. Sound Gear 225 here from Hudson, North Carolina. We'll be right back on Flow. 39 laps gone here at Tri-County.
And look at the run by Chad McCumbee, continuing to stay even. We haven't seen that 16 run the bottom as fluidly as we've seen a lot of other drivers do. He's been running the top to defend against Trevor Ward. He's got the nose ahead. He leads the lap. Bobble in turn 1. Ward will fight on the outside, and look how close Minnie Tyrell and Landon Huffman are to this group. They're gridlocked for 3, now 4 rows deep in turn 3.
Yeah, they're 2 wide. They're 3 wide around the Sundrop Chevrolet of Dale Earnhardt Jr. Part of that is with his teammate in Connor Hall, trying to make his ground up in the championship. Matt Light has been running the outside all night long, doing it some really good service right now, as they are still locked door to door for the race lead. It's still Trevor Ward who has it at the line, but here comes Landon Huffman rolling the top side. Minnie Tyrell right now stuck on the bottom.
Yeah, has nowhere to go, and that's been the worst line for Tyrell over the course of the race. He's been so free, near contact, rubbed fenders there with the 57 of Huffman, and down the bottom goes Jared Fryer. How about the run from the 14 car tonight? He was on rails to the last green flag stretch, and the bottom is where he has been at his bread and butter. He'll try to shoot down low for 4th place as Tyrell has gotten to the line that has favored him well so far on defense. The very top, he seems to be way more comfortable on the high side of the banking.
Again, our pictures on FloRacing don't do it justice about how hard these drivers are driving, how fast they're going around this racetrack, and the battling that is going on all throughout the field. We've seen 3, we've seen 4 wide just since this restart, as Landon Huffman back down to the bottom, trying to get by Chad McCumbee there in the 16 car. Landon Lewis, he's going to drop a spot to Parker Eatman. As listening to that radio throughout the course of the weekend, they were just fighting drive off, and it looks like that is what Lewis kind of wanting or wishing he had a little bit more of now as they go into 1 and 2. There's Earnhardt back down to the bottom. We mentioned he was a part of some 3 wide for a couple of laps. And Thomas Bean, the 0-1 car, strong run he had. He is down in the pit area right now.
And also Connor Hall right behind Dale Earnhardt Jr. The struggles continue for the driver trying to pick up on Landon Lewis to the point standings. Now the good news is that Lewis has been struggling on this run. He continues to get past lap after lap. Parker Eatman made the charge up high. Brandon Pierce is looking down low. So with every waning lap, Connor Hall has at least a leveled chance to make an effort at the 29 of Lewis over the course of this race. But the performance just hasn't been there after qualifying 15th. We mentioned that back fall to 22nd place. He's meandered around the back half of the top 20, and he still has a bit of damage on the front end of his Chevrolet Camaro for Junior Motorsports, so potential eye on that. However, for Hall, the setup just hasn't been dialed in, at least early on in this race. Continues to fight with the boss man down to turn 3.
Well, again, and the word we heard on the radio was so dang loose right now for Dale Jr. in that sun drop car, but he is one of many that is complaining about that same issue on the radio early part of this race. Huffman setting his sights on the 16 of Chad McCumbee there in sales and lease machine. And again, Huffman, this is Huffman country out here at Tri-County Speedway. He's got a lot of fans that are trying to wave him by McCumbee to go to second. And now Landon Lewis, this is yet another instance of that 29 car settling in the middle 3 wide. Now his night not going the way I'm sure he would have hoped. We got to keep that car in one piece to try and chase this championship to North Wilkesboro. And how about Graham Haller starting to work his way into the picture as well? The local here at Tri-County Speedway catching up and racing his way up into the top 10.
One of those local drivers who is doing such a great job, finished 10th in his previous start this season at Hickory Motor Speedway. And Chad McCumbee starting to fall through the weeds. Landon Huffman is attempting to make a move. Ward has pulled away to the tune of what's really going to be over 1 second, maybe a second and a half as they come across back to the outside of turn 2. And how fast has Landon Huffman been tonight? He has been on the best run so far alongside Jared Fryer. You give him some green flag laps, give him some time, and they start to cook.
Really has been. And so Parker Eatman getting a little bit of a scoot out of turn number 4. He's going to lose 3 positions just that quickly. And oh, trouble! Junior's involved as Donovan Strauss spins right in front of him. Strauss, who was running up in the 12th position. You can see the left rear damage as he gets a shot, spins out, and Junior just clipped him in the sun drop machine.
And there's all that damage. Yeah, on the left front of the race car. You just tagged Strauss late.
Left rear's down too.
And the tire is gone. And it's such a frustrating situation for not only a driver trying to go for the Bilstein Shocks Rookie of the Year award in Strauss, but Dale Earnhardt Jr. in his final attempt to race in the ZMAX Cars Tour in 2025. This is a mandatory visit down to pit road as the rim has basically overtaken the race car on the left rear and the tire is completely shot. And it looked like you said, Blake, there was some help in turn 2, and maybe Strauss had backed up just a bit. There was contact that sent Strauss spinning, and Junior, who was running around Connor Hall, they were running in the midst of the top 15. I think it was in the reaction just a little bit too slow to try and get around, just unpredictable in the way that Strauss was spinning in the 4S. And there they go to work on the Sundrop Chevrolet, trying to replay the tire.
So we're continuing for the Sundrop Chevrolet. This is another look at it. Strauss is already spun around. You can see he just clips the left rear of Earnhardt's car. For more, let's head down to the JRM camp with Pike.
So they've gotten the tire changed. I think the big thing here to note on Junior's car is that the left side door panel is sort of caved in a little bit from that contact. It's been in a little bit more than normal. You can see just a hint of damage down the left-hand side. So they tried to pull that away just a little bit. It's not particularly major. I think it's primarily cosmetic, but definitely a little bit of damage there. So Junior definitely took a shot, but biggest issue was that left rear tire. They've gotten that switched out. New tire is on. They should have Junior back out on the racetrack shortly.
I think while you're at it, too, again, this is your opportunity to make some adjustments while you're already down in the pit area. Number of cars doing the same. It's kind of the laundry list that we were reading off under the last caution flag with Doug Barnes Jr., Jake Bowman, Connor Jones, Brad Means, good friend of Dale Earnhardt Jr., who's also a part of this race, the number 92, servicing his race car. That team been working hard all weekend long to try and improve that race car. As it looks like Jared Fryer officially will be scored ahead of Minnie Tyrell, so has the opportunity to choose in front of that number 81 car as we come to the choose again. But I think as we've gone on and from what we can see in terms of lap times and in terms of handling, I think 3 of the best 4 cars that we've seen out here tonight are in the top few positions right now. Huffman, Fryer, Trevor Ward, and then honestly, I gotta say, Graham Holler, what he was able to do and how he's been able to drive through the field. He started deep in traffic, and yet he's basically up into the top 10 now, and that is not easy to do.
Those two are really the updates on that, just moving through the field. And for more on information on what's going down storylines, let's go down pit road and James Pike.
Yeah, KB, I had the opportunity to catch up with Ronnie Bassett. He declined the opportunity to chat. He said, look, I just don't have anything nice to say. Clearly frustrated. We saw it both of the replay, and that frustration is carry over. Just a really tough way to end the evening for Ronnie Bassett Jr.
9 ends early for Ronnie Bassett Jr., one of his good qualifying efforts here. Started up in 10th and was hoping for a little bit better. There you see Connor Hall, again, dropped to the back early, lost several positions in the opening few laps of this race. Currently runs in the 13th position, so just kind of keeping his nose clean as he tries to catch up to that 29 car leading the battle for the championship. Trevor Ward, Chad McCumbee into the iRacing restart zone. And we are back underway as Trevor Ward has elected to take the bottom into turn number 1.
And does that help McCumbee? Remember, he was forced on the inside lane on one of the last restarts. They'll make contact at the exit of turn 2. And Landon Huffman is shot out of a cannon. He'll poke the nose down to the bottom. 3 wide for the lead. Momentarily back to turn 1. Jared Fryer will have a chance to follow in the tracks of the 16 car, looking for second. Ward shuts him down. Huffman down to the inside once again for third.
Now can Jared Fryer get to the outside of Trevor Ward? It looks like it's not going to happen off of turn number 4. But Huffman, you can see running right along the inside retaining wall here at Tri-County. And in fact, he's going to get up in front of Jared Fryer. That's going to lead Minnie Tyrell to jump up on the outside of that number 81 car, trying to stay on the right rear of the 14. Now they're side by side in their own battle for 4th as Huffman tries to challenge for 2nd, and they're stacked up nose to tail from the 71 to the 88. I mean, it's hard to look away from any part of this screen right now.
Well, it was a purposeful decision right there by Fryer, who's still in this battle. Back to turn 1 alongside Minnie Tyrell. He stayed in the tracks of Landon Huffman because he was stuck on the top and the car just was not rotating. He's been really good on the bottom all race long. So he said, hey, I'm going to give up the spot now, but I'm back in the line in which I wanted to be. They're still 3 wide. Matt Light, who started up front near contact with Landon Lewis. And these cars continue to fall backwards, but the racing continues to get better. And the 11 car on the high side making the move. Landon S. Huffman to the top of the speedway.
He has been brushing off the top the last couple of laps. So has Parker Eatman, and those couple of laps, it has been close with the 29 and the 11 almost making contact, but just not expecting, I don't think, Landon S. Huffman to be there. Look at all that momentum. He scrapes the wall, and he's still got the run. Amazing. So as much as we've been talking about the bottom side and how it's working, is the top lane now starting to come back into play.
It's a reverse of what we saw in the PLM race earlier on tonight. The outside was fastest. It migrated to the bottom. Once again, it's the top side that's starting to find its fire as we approach midway through this race. And Landon S. Huffman with a great run off of turn 4. The way that Mountain Dew PepsiCo Chevrolet has been able to move up to the field, it's been very impressive. Still with Landon Lewis, and now Landon Huffman, not Landon S. Huffman, down the inside in the 57 on Trevor Ward, nose down low in turn 1.
Again, interesting, Trevor Ward chose the bottom. He has lost the race lead since that decision was made. Chad McCumbee comes around to collect the iRacing halfway lap leader money as battle for 2nd going on right now between the 12 of Trevor Ward, the 57 of Landon Huffman. Two drivers that have a long history here, but particularly Landon Huffman, his father Robert, longtime racer, obviously in this area, the former Goodies Dash Series champion. You know, we say Claremont, Hudson, North Carolina, Hickory is Huffman country. We do not exaggerate. He got a roaring ovation that probably rivaled only one driver out here at driver introductions earlier today. Oh, did Tyrell get a shot from Jared Fryer? He hangs on to it. That was close.
That was. And the 81 has been sideways for the last several laps. So I've been curious about how the right rear is looking at this stage of the race because of how sideways he's been all night long. The wear has been considerably heavy. And remember, he had made that position as Trevor Ward gets a tap from Landon Huffman, and he saves it off turn 4. What a save.
I know we're a week away from the Valley Star Credit Union 300. Remember, these two had a battle the last several laps and hardly touched each other. Perhaps the rules of engagement have changed. It's also changed behind them where Tyrell has continued to get some shots from Jared Fryer. And how about Landon S. Huffman racing for the Hauser brothers rather than his typical PRG group? And what momentum he's carrying after the run at Martinsville he had last week. Completed that with a top 10 effort. And even stopped by yesterday to Sawmills Elementary School with fellow competitor Isaac Kitzmiller. They went there and read to the kindergartners and took some victory lane photos with them. Had a great time as part of this promotion with Pepsi and Mountain Dew. And what an effort that he has put in here on a part-time basis in 2025. A resurgence here in this second half of the year. And third and fourth, it's both Landon Huffman.
Just one of those few drivers that have been able to cut through the field over green flag stretches, not even because of the disasters that we've had under yellow and some drivers being taken out of the fight. It's just been pure track position and the lines that they've been able to use with all that patience. And remember, he had been one of those drivers, Landon S. Huffman, to have tested here in the prior week. He said, we tested a few weeks ago. The houses are from that area, and the test went pretty well. The car has a lot of speed into it already, so you just take the baseline, adjust to the weather, and see how it goes. I think they've adjusted pretty well for tonight's race from Tri-County Speedway, although the fight is still on the hands. Jared Fryer and Minnie Tyrell continue to look down the inside. There's still smoke coming from the 81. Fryer down the bottom again. This is going to be for position number 5.
While one Landon Huffman has been able to make the bottom work, it's been the top side that has been so kind to Landon S. Huffman the last couple of laps. Jared Fryer starting to slow his progress a little bit in this back portion of this race. Landon Lewis has settled in for 7th. No shocker to see Minnie Tyrell running up towards the front of the field in a race like this. High grip, it's where this is the site of his first Cars Tour win that he got back in 2021. And trouble for another potential championship competitor, Cade Brown, who is kind of a last gasp effort to try to stay in this championship fight. He has pulled his car into the pit area. So Cade Brown, one of the first missteps they've had all year, and unfortunately, that may put him out of the championship fight.
And it looked like a similar situation to what we've seen ail a lot of drivers tonight. The left rear tire going down for Cade Brown. We'll wait for official confirmation, but the crew immediately put the jack on the left rear of the car and started looking at potential damage as it was scraping all over the asphalt as he came off of turn number 4. And the battle here continues for what's going to be second on the racetrack. Chad McCumbee just picked up some lap traffic, so it helped Trevor Ward and Landon Huffman pick up some time. That could be very crucial as the 12 and the 57 have kind of disengaged from whatever fight they were going into. The auction not won by either driver in that sense, given they're so close to each other. But McCumbee may have something in his hands, at least in the fight, as there's more trouble back behind the 25 of Graham Haller. We mentioned his progression through the field. His car comes to a stop, and that will bring out the yellow flag. That's turn 2.
He was running 13th at the time of the yellow, and man, we have seen just a number of cars get caught out with what might be flat tires. Cade Brown has since changed his flat tire and rejoined the rest of the field. 45 laps to go here at Tri-County Speedway. Chad McCumbee leads the field as he tries to go to victory lane for the first time in 3 years. We'll be right back.
Coverage of the Z-Max Cars Tour presented by Sound Gear here from Tri-County Speedway in Hudson, North Carolina. Race officials have just thrown a red and a yellow, so we're under an open red right now, and that gives us the opportunity to chat with Chase Burrow. Chase, what was your perspective on the incident with Ronnie Bassett Jr. coming out of 2?
I don't really know. I haven't seen a replay or anything, but we hit off a 2. I come off the bottom, and I hit him. I didn't mean to. Got free under him. Like I said, that was off a 2. I don't really know what happened about middle of the backstretch. I just know I got turned inside out. So, like I said, I ain't seen a replay. I know I got free under him. We hit, but I didn't really think it was that bad. So, the guys, they gave me a good car up at Corp. Thanks for all his support, and we'll get ready for Wilkesboro.
I was about to say, what does it take to regroup to get ready for the finale?
That's going to take a lot. It's going to take a lot of hours and a lot of money, and that's what this is about. So. It sucks, we got one left and got a tore up ride, but it is what it is.
Chase Burrow done for the night here at Tri-County.
Red flag has been lifted back under yellow here at Tri-County Speedway. You can see we're continuing with Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s Sundrop Chevrolet. Doug Barnes. And as we mentioned, a lot of drivers trying to take service at this point in the race. Still with, count them, 25 cars that are on the lead lap. Brad Means will be the recipient of the lucky dog.
And it looks like Mini Tyrell is having a struggle to get that car fired up. He had rolled down the banking off the exit of turn 4. Remember, he was fighting for position in the top 5, and the Jesus is Lord Toyota has found trouble. It seems like still can't get this thing fired up. He's trying his best. The field is going to come around again under the pace car. So a rather interesting scenario for Mini Tyrell here, Blake. I don't know what happened there, but they had all stopped for the red flag. They were all waiting for things to get lifted, and once they did, it was a slow roll, a crawl, and then a full stop.
Yeah, I think he's just he was trying to roll down the banking, see if he could get that car fired up, and you can see the push truck was kind of log jammed behind a couple of cars that were leaving the pit lane. But Barnes and Earnhardt have made their move, and they come to the aid of Mini Tyrell. Again, don't count these laps under caution, so if you're a Mini Tyrell fan, nothing to worry about. He'll rejoin the field exactly where he should be. He's able to fire it up and go on here at Tri-County Speedway. 79 laps down, 46 to go. Setting up to be a real barn burner. How about Landon S. Huffman in the top 5? That is just an incredible effort for a driver who, again, we talk about track position and how important it is in this field. How about starting 21st, row 11, and has driven up to the top 5. A superb effort that he and that 11 team have made up to this point.
And he's done well in prior history here at Tri-County. Finished 4th here last year, so there is a resume to back up what Landon S. Huffman has been able to do with these late model stock cars here at this 0.4 of a mile raceway. But he's been one of those experimenting with the higher third groove, where a lot of guys were at the bottom of the apron, like we've seen with Landon Huffman, and what's accrued to his speed over the course of the race. With Trevor Ward, experimenting with the second groove, same deal with McCumbee. We've only seen this Mountain Dew PepsiCo car at the very top, kind of in clean air. We saw Matt Light and a couple of others try to follow in those tracks, but he's found a lot of speed on the higher ends of the banking. So I'm very curious to see what he does here now that it's getting a bit harder to pass these faster cars that are intimates of the top 5. This is going to be a very lively restart, that's to say the least.
And the son of NASCAR veteran Shane Huffman is that of Landon S. Huffman, who is going to line up directly behind Landon Huffman on the outside of row number 3. This time, it is McCumbee the leader. Now, the restart looks similar to what they had last time, but it will be Chad McCumbee, who was the control car through the iRacing restart zone this time around.
And it's just a tale of multiple stories on the bottom end of the speedway with Trevor Ward, how successful he's been on the bottom, but with how McCumbee has been so responsive on the high side. Jared Fryer made up all the positions in this race, via running the apron after starting 18th tonight. Minnie Tyrell has struggled down on the bottom end of the speedway. Now Landon Huffman and Landon S. Huffman have to deal with high side charges as they come back to the iRacing restart zone. 45 to go in Tri-County.
McCumbee going to be clear to the lead. Landon Huffman trying to jump on the outside of Trevor Ward as they exit off of turn 4. We're also getting a report down trackside from James Pike that a potential electrical issue may be ailing the 81 cars they were trying to get rolling. Maybe a voltage issue as Landon Huffman up into second, 3 wide, now almost 4 wide. Jared Fryer leans into Trevor Ward as Landon Huffman tries to hold off Landon Huffman.
What a move by Jared Fryer, trying to point his nose to the inside of the racetrack, and more contact off the back end of Trevor Ward. From second all the way down to the top 6. In 5th, Landon Lewis makes the charge up high. Still 3 wide at the exit of 4. Meanwhile, for second, Landon Huffman and Landon S. Huffman continue in the fight, and Trevor Ward getting swallowed up by the pack off turn 2.
A couple of championship contenders swept up in all the 3 and 4 wide that's going on back there. Where did Connor Hall come from? Back from 22nd, and now trying to make up spots as Matt Light gets squeezed to the outside wall. He keeps rolling. 42 to go, and Hall may be able to pass his championship competitor in Landon Lewis. Trouble. Mitch Walker's around in turn 2, and the caution is out, and we can catch our breaths.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I don't think Trevor Ward was blinking for a moment after that restart. From second place all the way back to 8th, getting basically eaten alive. 3 wide, 4 wide, you name it. Everywhere he was getting tossed around. It started with contact off turn 2 from the nose of Jared Fryer, I believe. And then that's exactly what put him all the way back and jumbled this field together. And the issues that have plagued Mitch Walker all night long continue to be the same. That trouble spot has remained the middle of 1 and 2. But what an electric run, frenetic from start to finish on this green flag stretch, and nobody giving an inch, and Connor Hall having given rejuvenation all of a sudden after struggling for most of this race.
Again, he started 15th within 5 or 6 laps, had fallen back to 22nd or 23rd. But if there's one thing, even in his championship battle last year that he had with, coincidentally enough, the team that is currently running, or what had been running in the top 10, Trevor Ward fell back to 8th after some of that contact with Jared Fryer. But resilience is the one word that came to mind with Connor Hall, with what they were able to do at South Boston and the run that they were able to salvage there after the significant amount of damage that they had. And even a year ago, in different instances that he had with the Nelson Motorsports team of not giving up, he lines up 7th, Landon Lewis 4th. Now, again, Lewis had an 18-point advantage coming into this race, but granted, the points that are on the line for winning this race, there's plenty of them available for Connor Hall to try to take advantage of it, should he be able to get up and, wouldn't write it off, but maybe even win this race.
Yeah, there's definitely a chance for him to do so. I mean, given how wild the restarts have been, you can gain 2-3 spots in the matter of half a lap because of all the contact 3 and 4 wide. And what I've noticed off the restart, especially there, Blake, was that half of those drivers in the midst of the top group, back half of the top 5, latter half of the top 10, they were not in the lanes they liked all race. So they were all forced to adjust on a very, very interesting scale, to which they have to run a line that they've been struggling with all night long. And, you know, they haven't been able to get those adjustments in to dial those cars to make that change. So once we get this restart, it'll force drivers again into an uncomfortable situation. And with Trevor Ward's position now that he's in the back half of the top 10, how does he respond from being in contention to win his first D-Max Cars Tour race to now being in the back half of this group with plenty of firepower all around him?
For the first time all night long, Landon Huffman will start on the front row. Landon S. Huffman elects to be the second driver on the outside line, directly behind your race leader in Chad McCumbee. Jared Fryer joins the front 2 rows. Minnie Tyrell, Landon Lewis behind, followed by Connor Hall and Trevor Ward in row number 4. We have seen a lot of shuffling in and around and just outside of the top 10. In fact, how about give a call to Michael Bumgarner right now, the 07 car. Jumped up into the 12th position. First time we've mentioned his name all night long here tonight. 42 laps to go to settle the penultimate race of the 2025 season. Chad McCumbee bringing the field into the iRacing restart zone. We're back underway. And a clean restart, and you can already see several fans trying to wave by the 57, trying to catch Chad McCumbee, but here comes Landon Shane Huffman, working right at the edge of where the rubber is laid down, but it has been working for him all night long. Huffman and Huffman side by side for second.
The tail of Landon's in second and third. How about the runs from those two? And he'll get shut down at the bottom. At least Landon Huffman will. That's what Chad McCumbie's trying to respond with. The 57 has been so agile on the bottom end of the apron. McCumbie understands the assignment, and he's trying to deal the race-winning blow on defense. Huffman stays behind. Jared Fryer continues to run in fourth with a chance at third. Huffman again digging the nose down low. Can't quite complete the pass off four.
And especially down here in 1 and 2, you can see the drive that 57 has up off of the corner. McCumbee trying to cover, going down low once again. Meanwhile, Jared Fryer is knocking on the door. He hasn't fallen out of the battle for the top spot as he goes side by side with Landon S. Huffman, but Landon Huffman for the race lead is to the inside of the number 16. Side by side, they go into 3 and 4.
He's trying his best to rotate the car on the bottom. It's just taken a couple laps to officially complete. As McCumbee can clear, it could be a moment that Huffman grows frustrated with not being able to rotate better off into the exit of the corner, and it could allow Landon S. Huffman and Jared Fryer to get a piece of the pie as well. The distance grows off turn 4. Once again, Huffman is fighting the race wheel off the final corner, nearly dealt a shot to the 16 machine in 1 and 2. He's going to be there again in 3 as Landon Lewis and Connor Hall fight for position behind. Remember, they're in contention for the ZMAX Cars Tour Late Model Stock Championship.
You can see exactly why the Higgins family has not had any trouble packing this racetrack all season long, because this is the racing that you see at Tri-County Speedway every single week. Drivers searching for where their race car works best. Right now for Landon Huffman, that's the bottom of the racetrack. They go into 1 and 2. Huffman and McCumbee get together as Huffman jumps up on the number 16. Matt Like is involved as well. Connor Jones gets spun, and the caution is out as the top two tangle.
Unbelievable. And I mentioned how frustrated Landon could get trying to make the inside work. And we'll take a second look at it. His car is lodged on the hood of Chad McCumbee in the pole sitter. His chances of getting the win tonight from Tri-County looks like it will not continue, and Huffman will have to get lifted off of the 16. It looked like he had gotten a little too eager, Blake, in turn 1. They both made side-to-side contact, and then that awkward tire touching allowed the 57 to just launch on the hood, and they will have to throw the red flag for this as they'll attend to both drivers. It appears both of them are okay, Blake, but what a crazy incident fighting for the lead in turn 1.
It's always amazing when situations like this happen. The cars that weigh over 3,000 pounds can just jump up. As we are under the red flag, and Chad McCumbee, who a couple of times this season has unfortunately had this situation end like this, is McCumbee, I think he just wants a word with Landon Huffman right now, as they obviously disagree over all that happened going into turns 1 and 2, battling for the lead here at Tri-County Speedway.
Yeah, it's just aggression. I mean, McCumbee had stepped up defensively, and you could tell he got a little more aggressive at shutting Huffman down off the apron. He had given him a lot more space earlier in the run, let the 57 do his thing down low, and while McCumbee had been able to hold him off, it was getting closer, the fight for the lead. So at some point, McCumbee had to try and limit the opportunity, keep the door ajar rather than fully open, and then Huffman just took the opportunity and I think just made that mistake, went a little too far. They both made the contact, and by the time you make that contact, it's really hard to separate from each other with all that momentum carrying up the banking. So all the weight, the physics will carry both race cars up the track, and that's exactly how Huffman and McCumbee get tangled on in this incident. So there it is, turn 1, and yeah, Blake, it looks like Huffman was loose entering the corner, something we haven't seen from him all night long. Matt Light gets turned around, Connor Jones gets spun around as well in the attempt to avoid getting into the two cars.
Get another look of it here as they go down into one. And yeah, you can start to see that car start to kick sideways as they go into turn one. My goodness, Landon Lewis almost was involved in that as well, and he's nearly tagged Connor Hall.
That was so close. I mean, you see the leaders tango, they're going up the banking, but you kind of don't know with the way things are going if they're going to come right back down and get into you, so have to make that split-second decision. And there are the crews trying to assess both cars. They haven't gotten Huffman's machine off of McCumbie's yet. They're going to work on that now. But, yeah, it appeared that Huffman had been sideways at the bottom, maybe just hit the bump there in turn one a little bit too much. There's a transition down to the apron where a lot of drivers had made the rotations happen, but looks like Huffman got a little bit too much and the car went sideways.
Two veterans of the sport and two drivers that are known for racing hard, racing clean, unfortunately come together racing for an opportunity to go to Cookout Victory Lane. We'll set it back up when we come back to Tri-County Speedway. You're watching the ZMAX Car Store presented by Sound Gear.
Welcome back to coverage in the ZMAX Car Store presented by Sound Gear at Tri-County. Chad McCumbee had the most dominant car of the night out of the race early. Chad, what was your perspective on the incident with Landon Huffman in turn 1 and 2?
Landon just lost it underneath me, I guess. At least the replay I watched. He just lost it and got into us and ended our night. Kind of story of the last couple of months for us.
How much damage do you have? How hard is it going to be to regroup for Wilkesboro?
I don't even know that we'll go, you know. Like, I mean, why would we keep supporting this kind of stuff, you know? And I shouldn't say that, but I'm just super frustrated. And, you know, Trevor raced me extremely clean. I was underneath him. I got loose a lot of times. I anticipated it. You can't just go in there and hope you catch it, you know. There's not any talent in hoping, so. Man, I'm just so bummed. Like, we have had such good race cars. Our torque chassis have been great. Our Robert Elliott engines have been great. My guys have been working so hard, and I am just so disappointed. Don't really have a whole lot else to say. We'll just go do what we can do, and if we can make Wilkesboro, we'll try to get there, and if not, we'll see what next year holds.
And Landon Huffman said to his crew on the radio that he caught the new pavement underneath McCumbee in 1 and 2, and the car just snapped around on him. He apologized to his crew. He said, "I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I messed up." So Huffman, I think, with a pretty good sense of his sort of things in that endeavor.
Well, and that was one thing that we talked about going into this race was the different pavement that's in 1 and 2 and kind of those two patches that make up the second and third groove. Different cars have handled it differently, and unfortunately for Huffman, just got him a little too sideways. Jared Fryer resumes the race lead through the iRacing restart zone. Landon S. Huffman on the outside looking for his first win in Car Store competition. And how about the comeback for Connor Hall, looking for the top spot, and Landon Lewis is right there with him.
Those two fighting for the championship, gridlock side by side at the exit of turn 4, and Landon S. Huffman continues to roll in the place that's mattered to him the most for all of this speed. The third groove can give him a chance to rocket off turn 2. It's going to give him the momentum up front, but again, Fryer has been so efficient down the bottom, nearly 3 wide. Connor Hall's car is starting to come to life. 32 laps to go, and Fryer is still down there for the race lead.
In a multi-groove racetrack, go where they're not. That has been the theme of the night for Landon S. Huffman all night long, and he has driven all the way back up to the front of the field, started 21st, and here he is leading the field at Tri-County Speedway. Would be the first driver in the history of this series to start worse than 7th to win this race, and here he is driving up from 21st if he can hang on for another 30 laps.
But it's going to be a long 30 laps here from Tri-County. This track is very fast, but the pressure is still very much alive in Jared Fryer down the inside. You look further behind, there's also still great stories. Michael Bumgarner can push himself up into the top 10. The 12 of Trevor Ward, after bouncing from 2nd to 8th on a restart earlier on in tonight's event, he has a chance to recover. And Jared Fryer, who has been on fire from the bottom end of the racetrack, smoke coming out from the back end, but he still has rotation enough to stay under, at least until the exit of turn 4. And Landon S. Huffman back to control as they've pulled away in the battle for third.
With how Tri-County tends to be, heard a lot of drivers talking about yesterday that this is going to be a short-run race to decide this one here tonight. And it looks like Landon S. Huffman's car is that to a T. A great short run car, but as we continue to work the laps, Jared Fryer looking a little bit stronger as he continues to make up some ground and creep up to the side of the door, the number 11 Mountain Dew machine, as Landon S. Huffman trying to cover the spot, Fryer pulling away, and your two championship contenders side by side right behind him for third.
What we're seeing with Landon S. Huffman, it's sort of the same approach defensively that Chad McCumbee had used on Landon Huffman before they crashed in turn one. He's just slightly going lower and lower just to see what Fryer does in response, whether it kind of pushes him back or whether they will inevitably make contact and Fryer continues to remain down the bottom. It was a short-lived experiment. Fryer is leveled out with the 11 machine off turn 4. He may have the run good enough for the lead at the exit of turn 2. Faithful to the inside. Door to door, they go off of the second corner to turn 3.
And I think very lucky for the rest of the Cars Tour field. What if Jared Fryer had been running this tour full time? The multiple wins that he's already been able to gather throughout 2025, aside from a misstep at New River, has not finished worse than third any other race that he has run this season. And it is it's not difficult to imagine, I think, where the 2020 Series champion would be right now should he have decided to come venture out for all 15 of these late model stock car races in 2025. You may shudder at the thought of what 2026 might hold if that were the case. Door to door, still 21 laps to go. Landon S. Huffman trying to work that high side a little bit higher each and every lap. Meanwhile, right-hand side of your screen, there's your two championship contenders. Connor Hall trying to make up some ground on Landon Lewis before we get to North Wilkesboro.
As long as they stay side by side, it's not going to give any effect on those front-running two. But what it will do is bring in a whole new cast. Minnie Tyrell, Trevor Ward, two drivers that are sort of recovering from minor issues in this race. Ward falling back on track position. Minnie Tyrell with potential electrical problems that we've noted for the good course of this race. But he still has a fast car, and he'll get turned around in turn 1. Trevor Ward also gets hit. A touch from Michael Bumgarner, and more cars get into the mix. The 99 machine of Austin Samaro hip checks, and a 3-car incident in turn 1 involving Trevor Ward and Minnie Tyrell that kicked it all off.
And as soon as that yellow flag came out, Dale Earnhardt Jr. has pulled his car into the pit area. I believe the 07 of Michael Bumgarner may have just caught a piece of that one, as Trevor Ward, Minnie Tyrell come together, and yet another night that Trevor Ward looked poised to try and finally capture that first Cars Tour win is not to be in Hudson tonight.
You know, we've mentioned here tonight at Tri-County how quickly things have changed in battles for position, in looseness of race cars, the differentiation of lines. It's, again, the quick course of nature on how things change. And I don't know if there was contact there, Blake, between the two, maybe a touch of the nose, but Tyrell had lost the car, whipped it sideways, lots of damage to the front end of Trevor Ward. And then as everyone's trying to get around, that's Austin Samaro that ends up spilling into the mix and then ends up making that contact. And like you said, I think Michael Bumgarner might be just okay. I'm not sure whether there's some right door damage. It was very close between himself and the spinning Trevor Ward, but you got a feel for both of those cars. Two very strong machines. Trevor Ward running second, took the lead. It looked like he was poising up to have a perfect race from Tri-County, and now it seems like it's all over.
Both drivers that started on the front row no longer a part of this race, and as they went down into turn 1 and 2, I think that's just a case of, again, if you're Trevor Ward, just didn't know which lane that Tyrell was going to choose. You chose the same one, and Tyrell gets the worst end of it, albeit he'll be able to rejoin the field, has a little bit of rear end damage from his 81 car, but aside from a spin, he's going to be able to drive away and at least stay in this race. Donovan Strauss, Dale Earnhardt Jr., a couple of those drivers that are getting service at this moment, or pulled down to the pit area. One more look at it as they head down into 1 and 2. Tyrell behind Landon Lewis and Trevor Ward into the back of the 81.
Yeah, there was contact on that second slower look. It was minor, but again, same deal of what we saw in the Pro Late Model race earlier on tonight. You dig in the nose just a little bit too much. The right rear and the left rear tires, they both kick up from Minnie Tyrell. You lose control of the race car. It's only in 2 tires, so Tyrell goes for the spin, and Trevor Ward with all of that damage at the end.
Austin Samaro, some heavy damage after contact from Aiden King, and it looks like Landon Huffman was barely able to scurry away from the scene of the accident. Under red flag conditions, yet again here at Tri-County Speedway. We'll be right back on FloRacing for coverage of the Z-Max Cars Tour, presented by Sound Gear. Landon Shane Huffman leads the field into the iRacing restart zone. 20 to go here from Hudson. Huffman going way high to try to carry that momentum, and it's going to work for him now as they work through 3 and 4. Landon S. Huffman to the line, but just by a nose over Jared Fryer, 19 to go.
Same song, same verse between the front-running 4, but now Landon Lewis and Connor Hall are much closer for the fight for the race lead, so they can spoil the party if they can try and find a way through the middle or maybe through the bottom. Fryer noses ahead at the stripe. Landon Shane Huffman with the momentum up the high side. It worked on the last initial run. It's going to work here. Nearly clears Fryer back into turn 3.
Yeah, Fryer wanted to get up and get behind the number 11 car, but couldn't quite do it. He wasn't quite clear this time, though. He will be if he wants to go up there, but he'll elect to go back down to the bottom to continue this battle for the lead, but he has that outside line off of turn 2, so still trying to work the bottom, but use every bit of racetrack to try and do it as he's clear Landon Lewis for 3rd.
It's worked in some cases for Fryer, but you can tell the bottom is just chipping away at speed. Every lap that Fryer runs down in the apron, he gains a lot in his sense, but he just continues to lose out on the fight versus before he had been able to make up so much track position working that bottom groove. So things have evened out as both cars have put all that energy into their preferred groove. Another clearance by Landon Shane Huffman will keep him up in front. Car entering pit road, it looks like that's Connor Jones. That will clear right before the leaders get by, and they have let Landon Lewis and Connor Hall decided amongst themselves, nearly had a shot at the lead. Now Landon Lewis just making sure he can hold off his fellow championship competitor.
We talked about this being Landon Huffman country. The same could be said for Landon S. Huffman. He lives about 15 minutes away from this racetrack. It wouldn't be a very long drive home, but I'm sure a very long celebration should he be able to hang on for the last couple of laps as Landon Lewis moves up in front of Connor Hall to try and take 3rd. Hall leading into the 29 as they go off the 3 and 4. Jared Fryer now looking for the race lead to try and take it back here with 12 to go.
Got to imagine what Connor Hall might try to do differently here. He's dealing the bumper just a bit to Landon Lewis. This is any momentum that the 88 car can gain to have a shot come North Wilkesboro. The battle for the lead intensifies again to turn 1. Jared Fryer has the nose underneath. He was door to door with Landon Shane Huffman off the corner. They'll level out down to the back straightaway. They've let everyone through, so if no cautions fly, this is the proverbial battle for the race win. 10 to go.
And it's really through 1 and 2 that Fryer gets his run through 1 and 2, can wrap it right around the bottom, but Landon S. Huffman, just too much momentum on that outside line for Fryer to try and make a charge of it now. Hall moves Lewis out of the groove. He loses a ton of positions as he's trying to gather the car back up. Connor Hall into 3rd. Landon Lewis back outside of the top 10.
There was a touch there. There were 3 wide. Like you said, he drifted up the racetrack, and a beautiful save from Landon Lewis to keep it out to the outside wall as Parker Eamon and Brandon Pierce will do battle right behind. That had been good stuff right behind Connor Hall, but a chance for the 88 car to lose some more positions. And Landon Huffman, who was involved in the lead crash fighting against Chad McCumbee, he can still pick up a top 10, all things considered.
So Lewis was able to gather it back up in the 8th position. How about Mitch Walker, who has had a very topsy-turvy night? He's up here battling for 9th, and Landon Huffman battling for 6th. Can you believe that? He was on top of Chad McCumbee's car not too long ago, and now they're side by side, door to door for the win. 6 to go here in Tri-County, separated by 2 thousandths at the line.
This is far from over. You saw the gloves from Landon Huffman at the exit of 4. He was ripping that car sideways. The grip is falling away on the high side of the racetrack as he tries to hold the throttle pinned down to the floor. They'll touch in turn 1.
Multiple times, Huffman off of turn 2 has scraped the outside wall, but it has not. Oh, there we go. That's a little bit of harder contact. Now he's way up out of the groove. Jared Fryer to the lead, coming around to 5, now 4 laps to go.
Things were going to boil over, Blake, and given how fast both cars had been, there had to have been some sort of contact. There had to have been a physical move. Fryer just physical enough to move Huffman out of the way without wrecking him outright. Fryer in control. Now he needs to hold on for the next 3 laps.
What can Landon S. Huffman do? Again, we had mentioned he had made several instances in which he scraped the outside wall, but still kept soldiering on, but may have done it just one time, just a bit too hard as they come around this time. 2 laps to go.
And this is Jared Fryer's 4th Tri-County start. Blake, how special would it be if he can try to capture this win and hold on against Landon S. Huffman, given how much of a journey he's had to face through tonight? White flag from Tri-County.
Jared Fryer's 7th start of 2025, and yet here he is looking to win his 3rd race of the season. He's going to be able to do it for Jimmy Mooring Racing. Jared Fryer wins the Sound Gear 125 at Tri-County. And the bid for Landon S. Huffman to end up in Cookout Victory Lane for the first time comes up just a bit short. What a race. What a race.
And what a drive, Blake, between those 2 cars. I mean, that is at the absolute limit on all counts. And you saw there, just as Landon S. Huffman was getting by Jared Fryer there on the back straightaway after the checkered flag, that's a level of respect. They raced hard. There was some contact, but all is fair in racing and war. And Jared Fryer, I mean, how about this race? From 18th on the starting grid. You don't see that often, especially with how this track plays with track position. But this 14 car had been on fire. Midway through the race, this car was dialed in. And no matter what you threw at Jared Fryer, he would respond with a pass, then another pass, then another pass, and then that final one for the race victory inside those final laps. What a huge win and a trifecta in the ZMAX Cars Tour season for 2025.
Jared Fryer started 18th. He won the race. Landon S. Huffman started 21st. He finished in 2nd. Connor Hall started 15th. He finished in 3rd. It was that type of night here at Tri-County. Survival, and at the end of it all, Jared Fryer in the right place at the right time to make a race-winning move on Landon S. Huffman for his 3rd visit of 2025 to Cookout Victory Lane.
Jared Fryer yet again here, clipping off at just basic math, maybe a 35-40%-ish rate here. 3 out of 7. Someone better with numbers can do the actual math for me. But worth noting that Landon Shane Huffman just came over and just sort of gave the crew a thumbs up, and Fryer's crew gave Landon a thumbs up back. Looked like a sign of respect after the hard battle there. Those two going after it for the win. Hard, respectful racing there in the last 20 laps, but it is Jared Fryer for Jimmy Mooring, the 2020 champion of the Cars Tour, who comes out on top and finds his way to Cookout Victory Lane yet again. And here he comes with the checkered flag to celebrate Trinity, North Carolina's Jared Fryer, victorious here at Tri-County Speedway. Confetti and water and a good flag toss there, too. That's about as far as I've seen that checkered flag fly away from anybody's hands here. As Jared Fryer is going to take the opportunity to get the Victory Lane hat on. A few more hugs for the crew. Hat there, and a moment maybe to catch his breath as more crew comes in to celebrate with him before he has the opportunity to chat. Jared, the last really 15, 20 laps there with Landon Shane Huffman, what was that battle like behind the wheel of this car?
Man, it was awesome. Obviously, I raced with him earlier, and he was giving me plenty of room doing his thing on the top, and I was able to run my line on the bottom, and I didn't feel like I had to do anything dumb and get into him to pass him. And, I mean, obviously there at the end, we raced for a win. Had to do a little bit of something to get by him and clear him, but I knew he was going to race me clean. We put on a good show there. That was a lot of fun for my seat. Obviously, starting that far back sucked, but having a car capable of passing and driving through the field like that was really good and a lot of fun. Had to miss a few little crazy wrecks there, and it was frustrating. Our car was not that good in qualifying, and it really wasn't good in the race. I just had to make the best of it, and luckily it kept working really good on the bottom there. And it just wouldn't fire off in restarts. Like I needed all 20 laps to go there and needed to go green to feel like I needed that to have a shot at winning. So Man, I'm speechless. To win 3 of these in one season is a lot. Just to win 1 means so much. So to win 3, it means a lot. And I know everybody behind me has got to be proud, and I just couldn't do it without them, and couldn't do it without Jimmy Moore and give me the opportunity to race in good equipment like this on a big stage. So thank you to him. Kendall AK Performance, everybody at the shop that got this thing turned around after Martinsville. David and John West for building great horsepower under the hood. My mom and dad, my wife, everybody that supports me off the track and on the track. GSX Wraps, even Mobile Home, RNS Race Cars. And like I said, everybody, my spotter Tony had his work cut out for him tonight and did a good job to get me through there. And it was awesome. Just like I said, I'm just out of breath for one, and super happy and just so proud to be up here and doing it with all these people behind me.
It was so tough to pass on the bottom here all night long. Everybody just tried to momentum on corner exit and keep you pinned down. How did you make this car work on the inside line to get to the front?
I had to have clear track for one. I felt like I was better than a lot of the guys on the bottom. On the restarts, they'd kind of bottle it up, and then a couple cars would get by me, and you'd have to do what you had to do, move around, whatever, put a bumper to them, and get by them and get clean track. And that made a difference. Once I got up to the front, the guys were better and could roll the bottom a lot faster. And obviously, when I started on the bottom, that was a perfect situation for me. I was a little worried with the track being dirty down there, but it actually had grip. It was better than it was the caution before that. So, it was a handful tonight, but made the best of it.
3 for 7 here in 2025. Are you sure you don't want to come back and do this full time at some point?
I enjoy. I really love late model racing, especially with all these guys I have behind me. It's fun, but it's also a grind to run a full tour like that. I've done it for a couple of years and had a lot of fun with it, but it was really tough. I feel like we're having a lot of fun kind of picking and choosing, going to these racetracks. So that kind of fit my style. Some of the racetracks don't like me, so I try to stay away from them. But yeah, it's, when you got a good racetrack, you got a good race car, good people behind you, results like this happen.
You just can never count Jared Fryer out. He is victorious at Tri-County Speedway in the late models of the ZMAX Car Store, presented by Sound Gear in 2025.
A lot of win stickers that Jared Fryer has been able to put on in a limited amount of starts here in 2025. Again, as far as multi-time winners, it's him, Minnie Tyrell with 3 wins so far this year, and Landon Lewis leading the bunch with 4 victories thus far. As we take a look, there's your top 10 from tonight. Landon S. Huffman and Connor Hall, we'll hear from them in just a couple of moments, finishing 2nd and 3rd. Parker Eatman continues his strong surge here through the second half of the season. How about Brandon Pierce ending up in the top 5, and also give a nod to Landon Huffman, involved in that incident, ends up in a 6th place finish.
Yeah, a lot of these drivers had either found struggles in some form or fashion in this race. I mean, Mitch Walker had spun 3 times, and he recovered to a top 8. Landon Lewis bumped out of the way by Connor Hall 9th, and Laney Bice ends up in the 03 in the top 10, so a great result. We're caught up now with our 2nd place finisher, Landon Shane Huffman with James Pike.
Landon Shane Huffman, P2 this evening, one of the best runs in car store history for this Hauser operation as well. Landon, incredible racing with Jared Fryer. I saw you two sort of exchange thumbs up once he came out in victory lane. Just what was that like racing for the lead there the last 20 laps?
It was fun. I unfortunately think I just pissed my right front off too much coming up to the field and lost a lot of turn there at the end, and I couldn't get the drive off I needed because I couldn't get turned through the center down to 3 and 4 really. 1 and 2 I was really good. 3 and 4 I just struggled. I'm trying so hard to be upset with this, but for these guys to bring this car out here to this big of a race and run this good, it's a big deal. And I'm just the lucky one that gets to drive it. Just very thankful for all these guys, and wish we could have been that one spot better. We were so close, and to start 21st and be to the lead just after lap to 100, I don't think that's that bad. So hopefully we come back with these guys, and I had a blast, and just, super thankful for all these guys, my mom, my dad, everybody at Pinnacle Racing Group. I know I wasn't with them guys this weekend, but they've done a lot for me the past 3 years. And Mark and Jerry Webb for giving me the opportunity they had the past 3 years. And then, of course, the Hausers for this weekend. Give me the opportunity to drive this thing.
A lot of people in the Hauser camp just behind our Camrys here celebrating this almost as if it were a win, as Landon Shane Huffman brings the car home in 2nd. Then it allows us to turn our attention to our 3rd place finisher, in the Bass Pro Shop Chevrolet Junior Motorsports, Connor Hall. Connor, just rough race in there, rough and tumble with Landon for the championship. What was your perspective on the battle with the 29?
It was just good, hard racing. This is a hard place to pass. Trying to maximize our night, and we had a really good number 88 Junior Motorsports Bass Pro Shop Chevrolet, and just excited to put on a good show for Rotor Rooter. They're here. Got to race with Dale. Had a really good time tonight, and just wish we would have maybe got to the front a little bit sooner, and maybe had a shot at it.